I run two businesses. One is a consulting company where I help info product creators scale, and the other one is a SaaS coaching hybrid that I'm building from the ground up. I've made 7 figures in personal profit, tens of millions for my clients, and on a normal day, I work about 3 to 4 hours on average. Now, before you call bullshit on this claim, let me just add some context that I think is really important for you to understand this whole thing. Right now, in this specific season, I'm actually working a lot more than 3 to 4 hours. I'm working like full days with very late nights, and it's because I'm building something that is new. No one's really done it before, and so there's certain work that only I as the founder can do. But here's the thing. A full day of my work literally produces what would take most founders weeks, if not months, to get done. And it's because of how I set everything up. You see, most online entrepreneurs are working 10, 12, 14-hour days, and they're super proud of it. They post about their screen time, they brag about how little they sleep, and then they're at the end of the month, they're making 30 to 50 grand a month, which, don't get me wrong, it's good money, but they're making it the hardest way possible because they're doing everything themselves. Every single task, every single decision, every piece of content, every client interaction they have, it has to flow through them personally. And then they call it hustling. I just simply call it, you don't have proper systems. You're running it like a freelancer. And the thing that changed everything for me was a single mental exercise. I basically imagined that I had an office, a real like physical office, a place where people show up to. And tomorrow there's going to be like 10 employees that are going to show up. They don't know what your business does. They don't know who your clients are. They don't know the process that you have. They're just going to show up to work and they're ready to work. You're going to have like sales guys. You're going to have like service delivery guys. They're just going to show up for work. Now, how do you make sure that this office runs every single day without you being there telling people what to do? That is the question. That's the real question. And the answer is that you need systems. You need systems that are written down, they're documented, they're step-by-step systems that anybody or any tool can follow without you needing to explain everything. I want you to think of real companies, right? Real companies think in this manner. Amazon doesn't run because Jeff Bezos is out here in every single fucking meeting or every single day he's just personally packaging boxes. It runs because every single process is documented, it's systemized, and it's optimized so that the person doing it doesn't need to be Jeff Bezos. They just need to follow the system. Now, online entrepreneurs, they don't think like this. They don't think in this way because they think their business is them. And as long as they believe that, they'll always be the bottleneck. The business can only grow as fast as they can personally work, which means they're going to be working 12-hour days forever if they're trying to continue scaling at the rate that they're scaling at right now. Now, I know some of you guys are sitting here and they're like, Yusuf, I already tried this before. I made SOPs and I've tried to delegate, I've tried to hire people, and it was just like ass. The person didn't do it right. The output wasn't as good as when I did it myself. The scripts just didn't sound like me, or the edits were off. And when I just took everything back and went back to doing myself, it was a lot better. And it's just like, it's such more of a headache for me to hire someone. And listen, bro, I get it. I've been there. But here's what actually went wrong. Essentially, what happened was your SOPs sucked. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner by any means. Everybody's SOPs suck because the way most people write an SOP is they just open up a Google Doc and they just write something along the lines of like, step 1, create content. Step 2, post content. Step 3, engage with the audience. Again, it's not that basic, but you kind of get the premise. That is essentially not an SOP. What your SOPs are, they're essentially to-do lists. And it's completely useless for anyone who isn't you because you know what create content or whatever the hell your first step is. You know what these steps mean internally because you know your processes, you know your standards, and you know your preferences, what you actually prefer. But the person that you just hired, well, they're going to read your SOP and they're going to have no idea what you actually want. So they'll just guess. And most of the time, 99% of the time, the people that you hire, they will guess wrong. And then you'll go ahead and tell me, oh, see, like, look, Yusuf, I told you, nobody can do this like me. Like, no, you just gave them nothing to work with. The issue was never the person that you hired. The issue was the instructions that you gave them. I want you to think about it. Does it make sense that every single person that you hired just happens to suck at the thing that you're trying to hire them for? Obviously not. It's just the instructions that you gave them. So here's how you actually fix this. Step 1, you take every single thing that happens in your business and you write it down. I'm talking about every single process, every task. I'm talking about everything, right? Stuff like how you get clients, how you onboard them, how you deliver the service, how you create the content, how you handle invoicing, how you communicate with your team, like how you like, let's just say, follow up with your leads, literally everything, right? And there needs to be like exact detailed scenarios about like if something happens, like if an anomaly happens or something that isn't expected happens, how can we as a team create choices and how can we make a decision around this that doesn't need the founder, which is you as a person. So I want you to write down everything. I want you to grab a notebook, a whiteboard, a Google Doc. I don't care. Just write it all down. Most people skip this step entirely because they have all of their processes and have all this information in their head, which means that they're the only person on earth who can run their business. And then they wonder why they can't take a day off without everything falling apart. It's like, of course, it's going to all fall apart because there's nobody else working with you. All these employees are just doing busy work that doesn't actually require any thinking. And for you to actually scale to $100 100K, 200K, 300K, a million a month, you generally need to treat your company like a business with structure, with hierarchy, with people are able to take decisions under you. Now, step number 2, after you've written down all your processes, and this is where most SOPs fail, is people will just be very general. They'll be very vague. So they'll write something like step 1, create content. Step 2, post the content. Step 3, engage with all. Like, again, that's not an SOP, it's a to-do list. And so it's useless to anyone who isn't you. So what you need to do is you need to break down every single process down to the smallest possible steps so that it's so small to the point that a stranger could follow them and will get 90% of the results that you'd get, right? So let's just take the example of creating content, right? As an example, that's actually like 7 different processes. You have ideation, script writing, recording, editing, thumbnail, title, description, scheduling, all of this stuff. All of these different steps stem from that one step. And each one of those can actually be broken down into further points, into further steps. So you have ideation alone could be, checking your competitors' channels for trending topics. Then you'll review saved comments from audiences about questions. And then you can have, cross-referencing with your content calendar. It could be, picking 3 potential topics, filtering through the ICP relevance. Then, you will choose one and then you write the angle that you will talk about this specific idea, right? So that level of detail is what makes the system works, because, you can hand someone, just figure out ideation for this video and then we'll switch on to script writing. Or, you can kind of like go super in depth. And once you have that kind of in depth, you can either obviously hand it to someone, or you can even build an automation around it. You can use AI to basically handle 80% of it. Listen, you can't automate or delegate, the idea of creating content entirely as a whole, but you can absolutely create an automation that checks your competitors' channels for trending topics. And so the rule that I follow is that if this step requires judgment or creativity or clarity that only I can provide, then I'll keep this task for myself. Everything else, it gets broken down till I can hand it to someone else or something else so they can do it, like automate it to AI, right? We're not, guys, are we crazy to the point that we're calling AI with pronouns now? Like, bro, come on, lock in, gang. Anyways, so step number 3 is that once every process is mapped out and broken down, you essentially go through each step and ask this one question: does this require me? And I want you to be very, very honest, because your ego will tell you, yeah, of course, everything requires me. Like, I'm the best one who can do it, right? That nobody can do it as well as me. And so that the scripts won't sound the same, the edits won't look the same, and the client calls, won't go as well. And you know what? Maybe you're right? You're probably right. Nobody will do it exactly like you, but they'll do it maybe 80% as well. And that 80% is what frees up your time to do the 20% that actually moves the needle. The strategic thinking, the creative vision, the founder level decisions that nobody else can make in your business. And so for the steps that don't require you, you essentially have 3 options. You can either delegate to a person, you can automate it with a tool that is already built, or you can build your own internal system. And this is kind of where AI has changed the game recently for me, especially in my businesses. You can literally go to Claude right now, and this is what I do, and you can literally just send it a voice message describing exactly what you need and have it build out a custom tool for you. So you can have an internal dashboard, a reporting portal, a client tracking system, whatever your business needs. Again, it's not perfect, but it's 10 times faster than, let's just say, hiring a developer and doing all this stuff. And the best part is that it's custom to your exact workflow. So again, that was a side point, but the point is this: it's like every step that doesn't require your brain specifically, or your creativity, or your personal relationships, should eventually be handled by someone or something other than you. That is literally how you go from working 12 hours a day to working just 3. You're not working less, you're just actually doing the work that matters. So let me show you what this actually looks like in practice with something that every single one of you probably do, either for yourself or your clients, which is creating content. So the average, founder's content process looks like this. They'll sit down in front of a blank Google Doc. They're trying to come up for ideas. They'll stress about it for an hour. They might ask AI, be like, yo, give me 10 viral content ideas. Or like you'll run like a goofy N8N automation that you found on Instagram. And then, you'll finally write something, or you ask Claude to write it for you. You'll sit down, you'll record it, and then you'll edit it, or you send it to editing, posting, whatever. And it's like 6 to 8 hours for just one piece of content. And they'll do this every single time, starting from scratch without a system, without anything. So I'll explain my process. And essentially, like, what I've done is I've broken content into stages, and each stage has a system behind it. So let's just take ideation. I essentially have a running back of ideas that I've pulled from, audience comments or competitor analysis in my own experiences. So I don't just sit there and brainstorm from like zero. The ideas are kind of already there. And so I just pick one that I feel like talking about in a specific day, and then I move on to scripting. So with scripting, I just talk through my ideas out loud. So I'll just use a voice memo, and then I'll just pour out my stream of consciousness, and I'll just yap about it for like 20 minutes. And then that raw audio gets structured into an outline using AI. So I don't write scripts word for word most of the time. And if I do, it's also using AI because it's trained on my voice. And so most of the time I either have recording points and I just riff, or, you know, I have a teleprompter that I just read off of. Then for recording, it's basically I sit down, I have my outline or my script, and I just hit record. I do it through 1 or 2 takes because I'm not trying to be perfect. I sometimes say and whatever, right? I'm not this like super polished up person, and I feel like you guys, if you're trying to understand this information from me, you don't need me to be this super high edited, insane I mean, at least for now, right? At least before my content blows up and I'm everywhere on people's channels. Hey, if you're here this early, then, you know, subscribe because we're about to take over. But anyways, I don't need to be perfect. I just have to be real and be myself in front of the camera. And then I move on to editing and thumbnails and titles and descriptions and all that sort of stuff. That's either handled by someone else for, you know, my clients and whatnot. And then for myself, I have like a system that makes it done in like 20 minutes or so instead of 3 hours. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I spent a lot of time packaging. Bro, it's done in 20 minutes. Like it's not the end of the day. And so the result is that what takes most founders an entire day to finish, or an entire week if they're inconsistent, it only takes me a couple hours max. And the best part is my quality is a lot higher because I'm spending my time on the part that actually matters: the thinking, the ideas, the delivery, the stuff that makes people actually stop scrolling and watch. Everything else is delegated or automated with a system. And so here's the bottom line, right? Here's the final point. If you're working 10 to 12 hours a day and your business can't run without you, I'm sorry to tell you this, you do not have a business. You just have a job that you created for yourself. And it's probably not even paying you well for the hours that you're putting in. The shift that you have to make is very simple. Stop thinking like a freelancer who just happens to have clients. Start thinking like an actual CEO who just happens to have a small team. You'll map out your process, you'll break them down, and you'll remove yourself from everything that doesn't require you. And you'll spend your time on the work that only you can do. That is why I can run 2 businesses, produce content, and still have my afternoons free. Again, not because I'm working less, but because I'm doing the work that moves the needle, and everything else has a system. Now, if you're watching this and you're stuck in that 12-hour day loops where you're just making money, but you're doing everything yourself and you can't figure out how to get out of it, I want you to DM me the word systems on Instagram. Again, I don't have a setter or a ManyChat automation. It's literally me responding to every single message. I would love to break down exactly how you can implement this stuff that I talked about in today's video and whether or not it makes sense for your business.